submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this story Cinema Kane and the review of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm your host, Cinema Kane, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most beloved Nickelodeon classics of all time, which happens to be celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. That's right, the original season of Are You Afraid of the Dark, the very first season, aired 30 years ago this year. And if that don't make you feel old, I don't know what will. So, sit back, relax, and let's do this. Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of those shows that was sort of an early introduction to horror to me, because while Scream was the first official horror movie I saw when I was like 13 years old, I'd been watching Are You Afraid of the Dark since it debuted. I also used to love Erie, Indiana, which was on around the same time as Are You Afraid of the Dark, and both those shows, but in particular Are You Afraid of the Dark, meant a lot to me growing up. There are episodes I still think back on and kind of get a slight chill up my spine, or the hair on the back of my neck stands up when I think about it. I personally happen to think that Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of the most underrated kids shows of all time, because it was one of those shows that didn't talk down to kids. It was something that felt like you're mature enough to handle this. The thing that's interesting about Are You Afraid of the Dark to me is the amazing amount of talent that came out of that show. And I hope I'm saying her name right. Eliza Cuthbert, who was Kiefer Sutherland's daughter on 24. She was one of the members of the Midnight Society. Jay Baruchel, who's been in a lot of the Judd Apatow comedies, was on this show. Gregory Smith, who was a staple in like 90s and early 2000s television, is actually primarily a director these days, I understand, which I found really interesting. It's interesting to see the people that came out of Are You Afraid of the Dark. They were one of the first shows that kind of gave kids, at least in my opinion, a taste of danger. They said, you know what, we're not gonna pussyfoot around here. We're going to actually show kids things that could potentially give them nightmares. We're going to show kids things that are not your traditional boogeyman type stories. It really was an interesting show. That said, they rebooted it several years back. I've seen part of the reboot. I really enjoyed what I did see. I saw the season where it like took place at Carnival or something. Really great young cast, really interesting introduction to this new generation of the Midnight Society. It's on par with the original as far as I can tell. It's just as dark in some places, but it's a little bit lighter in some places. I think that's probably just because it's, the times we're in now as opposed to the times we were then, because let's face it, 90s kids are hard, man. I really do love Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's been one of those shows that has just stuck with me over the years. I love watching the older seasons on Paramount Plus. For whatever reason, they're missing season 6 and 7, which was produced by Nickelodeon themselves, because of the original series only ran for 5 seasons, and it was so popular that they commissioned 2 more seasons. Yeah, it's a great show. And if you've never seen Are You Afraid of the Dark, and if you've got some little kids at home that maybe want to try horror, but you're not sure about what to show them, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a fun time for, I'd say, 10 and up. So, I'm your host, Cinema Kane. I hope you've enjoyed this retrospective 30th anniversary review of Are You Afraid of the Dark? If you did, don't forget to click that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification so you know every time Cinema Kane has a new video uploaded. And I'll see you at the video store.